Welcome everyone, hello. So I've been getting a little bit more into running lately, and I've really been wanting to make sure that my hips, knees, and feet stay happy and healthy. So I've designed this sequence as a sort of general strengthening and stabilizing practice for our pelvic stabilizers, our glute muscles in particular, as well as some strengthening for our alignment and our tracking of our knees, making sure that we're not hurting our knee joints by landing funny. So this could be great for a warm-up, pre-run, or just as a general sort of cross-training tool for any activity that you are doing. TheraBand might be really helpful. If you don't have one, no big deal, but if you do have one, grab it because we will use it. Let's start lying down. So come on down onto your back and place your feet flat on the floor, about as wide as your sits bones and nice and parallel, arms down by your sides. And we'll begin with some bridge poses. So with a nice exhale breath, press your lower back down into the ground, and then start to pull your tailbone up off the ground and then the back of your pelvis, and then roll up through your spine. You can take a tiny little glance down and make sure that your knees haven't kind of swung out to the sides. Try to hug in like you've got a yoga block between your inner thighs, and you're kind of just hugging in, magnetizing in through those inner thighs. Roll up to be on your shoulder blades. And then really let's get the backs of the legs, the hamstrings and the glutes on board. So think of your tailbone trying to really reach towards the backs of your knees and pull your heels towards you slightly. At the same time, lengthen the tops of your thighs away from you. So you want to feel a lot of action in the backs of the legs here. Take a nice inhale breath, and then exhale. Let's roll back down through your spine, through that lower back, pelvis, and then return to a nice neutral. And again, inhale, lower back presses to the floor, exhale, and let's roll up one bone at a time. Again, try to magnetize those inner thighs towards each other as you roll up. Now staying up this time, same things apply. Tailbone towards backs of knees, fronts of the hips nice and open, pull your heels towards you slightly. We're going to take some little pulses. So lower your hips just a couple inches and then press them back up. And keep going lower and press up. And keep going lower and press up. And keep those heels kind of pulling in towards you. Lower and press up. Remember that sort of inner thigh magnetized sort of feeling. You want to keep that. And lower and press up. Let's do 5 more. Lower, press up. You could add on more repetitions of this if you want, but just for time's sake in this video, we'll just do another few. Keeping that tailbone reaching towards the backs of your knees the whole time. And one more, a little lower, and press up, 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 and then slowly roll down through your spine. Let's come on over to our left side. So roll on over onto your left side. You can place your ear on your arm or rest your head in your hand. And we'll stack our knees and our shins together. You want your heels kind of lined up with your sits bones again, so your thighs are kind of slanting away from you. And imagine that you're wrapping, like you could think of a weightlifting belt or a corset, that you're really hugging around both sides of your waist, and you're getting really secure right into your core, your center. So your hips are not going to move at all. We'll go into our clamshells. So with that top leg, with your right leg, press your knee open as far as you can without your hips starting to roll back. That's really key. The hips stay stable, and then lower down. And keep going. So you're focusing this effort right into those sort of outer glute muscles, your glute medius muscles, as you do these clamshells. And your pelvis, your core is staying rock steady. So let's keep going, and you can pick the pace up slightly, but I don't want you to go so fast that you lose contact with what's going on in your pelvis. So if you feel like you need to slow down to feel more control over which muscles you're working, then absolutely slow down. And ideally we want to do maybe about 20 of these. Again, you could add more repetitions if you're feeling pretty strong. And you can add on your breath as well. So you can exhale to open the clamshell and inhale to close. Exhale to open, inhale to close. And keep going. Let's do another 5. So again, just for the sake of this video, we'll do about another 5, 4. I've got my hand on my top hip here so that I can feel if there's any movement of my pelvis. So just giving myself some cues to keep my hips nice and still. And then last one, let's press that knee open. Now keep your knee open, inhale, and then kick your legs straight out, exhale. Bend your knee, again, inhale, and exhale, lower or close the clamshell. And we'll do that again. So inhale to open up the clamshell. Keep that thigh exactly where it is. Just extend that leg, breathing out. And then bend the knee again, inhale. And then close the clamshell, exhale. Let's do one more of those. Keep those hips nice and steady. Inhale to open. Exhale, extend, extend, extend without the hips changing. Inhale, bend the knee. And exhale, close the clamshell. Okay, let's just swing around to the other side. Nothing fancy, just take it to the other side. So again, stacking knees and shins, heels in line with your sits bones. Get that wrapping feeling from around your waist, right in towards the center of like kind of right around your belly button. So there's like just like this nice steady anchored place in your belly, keeping your hips secure. And then open the clamshell and lower. And maybe keep that top hand on your top hip so you can feel what's going on. Feel if there's any movement. So again, just, it could be subtle. You don't want that top hip to try to roll open. That's compensating, trying to get that leg open by moving the hips instead. So keep your hips totally rock steady. And the only thing moving is that leg bone, thigh bone, externally rotating in your hip socket. Keep going. So again, focusing on those outer butt muscles, outer glute muscles. That is what is doing the work of opening the leg. And keep on going. Keep that nice secure center. Again, maybe doing about 20 of these. Going at a pace where you can feel like you're really controlling your movements. You're being really precise with your movements. And let's do another 5, just for time's sake here. And 4. And 3. And 2 more. You could also use a TheraBand around your knees here. I find just the weight of my leg is enough, but if you're feeling like you want more, then use a TheraBand. So let's open that knee. Take an inhale. And then exhale, extend the leg, press out through your heel. And then inhale, bend that knee so you're in that open clam. And then close the clamshell, exhale. Breathe in, open the knee. Exhale, extend the leg. Inhale, bend the knee. And exhale to close. And one more time. So inhale, open. And keep that hip and thigh exactly where it is. All you're doing is extending from the knee. And then back in and close it down. Good. Hopefully you're feeling a little burn there. Come onto your back. Let's do just a little bit of core stabilizing here. So nice neutral pelvis. Get that same wrap and hug in, like you're pulling everything in nice and tight right in below your belly button. Let's take the hands behind the head, interlace the hands elbows wide, breathing in, and then nod your chin to your chest and curl up into sort of like a nice C curve of your upper spine, but keeping your pelvis and your lower back in a nice neutral. And there's a feeling of like pulling in and sort of flattening across your low abdominals. Keep that nice and steady. Lift one leg and then the other up to a 90-degree position. So shins parallel to the ceiling. Now without your hips rocking from side to side at all, as you exhale, press your right leg away from you. And then bring it back into that tabletop or 90-degree position. And then left leg presses away from you. And look with your eyes. Look down at your belly. Make sure your belly isn't popping up. Keep those abdominals hugging right down towards your spine. Other side. And check that your hips aren't rocking from side to side at all. And pull it back in. This is called single leg stretch. Other side. Reach away. And if you're really doing it precisely, it's really hard. And once more on each side. Press away. And pull in, and last one, reach and press away, and pull back in. Good, knees into chest. You can just relax for a quick second, head down to the ground. We're gonna do one more core focused little exercise here. So hands interlaced behind your head again, feet on the floor, nice and flat. Inhale, and exhale, chin to chest, and curl back up, kind of like you're coming into a nice lengthened crunch position. One leg and then the other without your hips moving towards that 90-degree position. And now extend your legs as best as you can, toes straight up towards the ceiling. If your legs don't stretch all the way, keep a little bend in the knees. That's fine. We want to focus more on all the work happening in that lower belly. So here, take your hands, release them down, and you're going to hold on to either side of your right knee. Scissor your legs, so right leg a little closer to you, left leg slightly away from you. Take an inhale breath. And then exhale and try to pulse that right leg a little closer to you using your abdominals. So not just cranking with your arms, but trying to use those deep abdominals to pulse, pulse. Now switch the legs, scissor and switch. Switch your hands, inhale, and then double pulse on your exhale. Scissor and switch the legs. Try not to rock the hips. Double exhale. Hips stay steady. Scissor and switch the legs. Double pulse on your exhale. And keep going. Scissor and switch, breathe in. Double pulse. Scissor and switch. Inhale, double pulse. Exhale, exhale. Once more time, or once more on each side. Switch, inhale, double pulse. Exhale, exhale. And switch. Keep those hips totally steady. And double exhale. Legs back up, bend your knees. Little rest, head to the mat. And let it go. Great, just come on up, rock and roll or roll on over. Let's come on up to hands and knees. Hands underneath your shoulders, spine nice and long. Get that same core connection here, so belly button lifting towards your low spine. Let's extend one leg back without your hips moving at all. Stretch one leg all the way back behind you. Press and reach out through your heel. Inhale, and on your exhale, lift that leg up just as far as you can without changing anything in your hips or in your lower back. And then inhale, lower your toes to touch the mat. And exhale, lift the leg. All that work is happening again here in your glutes and in your hamstring. Core is really working hard as well to keep your pelvis and your lower back nice and stable. So let's do a couple more times. Pelvic stabilization. Inhale, toes lightly touch. Exhale, press out of your heel and lift. One more. Inhale, toes touch. And exhale to lift. Now bring your toes down, bend your knee, and just slide that knee underneath your hips. Other side. Extend your leg long. Keep that nice steady core connection, belly button lifting to lower back. Inhale and then exhale. Press out of your heel and lift your leg just as much as you can without releasing that core connection, without moving your hips. Inhale, toes lower, and exhale, press and lift. Doesn't have to be a big movement. Inhale, lower, exhale, press and lift. So smaller movement and more precise and more stable is better. You're going to build more stability and deep strength with those smaller, more precise movements. A couple more times in this pelvic stabilization. Inhale a little lower, exhale a little lift, and one more. Inhale, lower, exhale, lift, and then toes to the ground, bend your knee, slide it into place. Tuck your toes, and let's just shift our weight back towards our feet and roll on up to stand. So here I'm going to get rid of my mat because we want to have a little more ability to slide our feet on the ground. You could even put on a pair of socks. if you're on a slippery floor, and that will help you kind of get some movement here. So set your feet up right underneath your hips, nice and parallel. Hands can rest on your hips, and then we'll take a chair pose. So you're just going to bend your knees, and here's where this tracking is really going to come into place. So check that your knees are right over the middle toes, so over the center of your foot. And then just take a couple little pulses here just to warm up. So a little pulse down, focusing on that nice tracking, a little pulse up. Keep your spine nice and long, but keep your gaze down so you can see what you're doing. And one more little pulse down and little pulse up. All right, so coming into that sort of half chair, let's take one leg and extend it back, straight back from your hip. Toes can be kind of tucked on the ground. With the leg that's in front, this is the one you're gonna really focus on. Tracking. So make sure that that knee isn't knocking inwards or outwards, but you're really pressing that knee directly over the center of your foot, and you're going to keep some of your weight back into your heel. So we're going to keep our weight forwards in that front leg, so that back leg is nice and light. Press into your heel, slide up a couple inches, and then slide that leg back a couple inches. And slide up, and slide back. And keep looking down when you need to make sure that you're tracking with that front knee over the middle of your foot. And now think about running or even walking. When you land, when you're taking your steps, this is where we want to be landing. We want to be landing in this nice, secure, tracking over the middle position. So this is what we're strengthening here. Keep some core connection. Try to keep those hips nice and square. Couple more times. Little slide up and down, and one more up and down. And now stay in that kind of low chair. Just slide that back foot underneath and switch sides. So other leg, take it back. Get lined up with that front knee. Keep your weight kind of back in your heels so that you're strengthening more of the, again, the glute muscles. But keep your weight in that front leg so you can take that little slide up and that little pulse back. I don't really have any weight in my back leg at all. And keep going. Again, wearing socks, helpful here. You want to keep that nice core connection. So think of that area below your belly button, hugging in and snugging in towards your lower back. Look down at that front knee if you need. Remind yourself to stay in that nice tracking alignment. And a couple more. So again, maybe like 20 of these. Of course, I'm not counting, but if you're doing this, you can count for yourself about 20. And then stay in that sort of low chair position. Take that back leg underneath your hips. And stand up tall and shake it out. Now, if you have a TheraBand, grab it. If not, you'll still get some good work here, even without the TheraBand. So let's take your TheraBand, and you want to have, mine's already kind of tied up, but you want to have a snug little loop, and we'll take it just around kind of like halfway between our ankles and our knees, so partway up our shins. You want to have that loop small enough that when you step your feet pretty wide, like definitely wider than hip width, that you feel like there's a bit of resistance. You feel like you've got some strong resistance. Now feet really parallel, hands on hips again. Bend your knees, and your knees may want to knock inwards here, especially with that TheraBand. Your job is to try pressing those knees out towards your pinky toes. So you're really activating that outer line of your glutes and of your thighs. So keeping that nice steady core, let's take a few walks towards one direction. So keeping that outward pressure on the TheraBand. I don't really know what these are called, little crab walks. And then to the other side. And as you do this, we want to make sure that our hips aren't kind of like tilting from one side to the other. You want to keep your hips really even. So you're just working these muscles on the outsides of your legs and your hips, and you're not just rocking and rolling through the pelvis. So keep your hands maybe on your hips so that you can feel that your hips are pretty steady as you go through these little crab walks. Now, coming back just through center, shift your weight over into one leg, keep that knee pressing out to the side, and then with your other foot, you're going to pulse it up off of the ground. Pulse, pulse, and this is where you really want to make sure that you haven't, turned into the Leaning Tower of Pisa with your hips. Keep those hip points nice and flat, nice and level. Pulse, 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 and pulse, and then switch it over to the other side. And here we go. Hips level. Check in with that. Super important. And pulse out to the side. Pulse. Pulse. Keep breathing. I know it's hard. Pulse. Pulse. Few more. Feel the effort. And then come on back into center. And if you want to do another round, another repetition of that, go for it. Again, just for the time sake of this video, we're going to finish so you can take that TheraBand off of your legs. And then just a little bit for our feet. So feet nice and flat. And spread your toes all the way out. Press your pinky toes into the ground. If you need to look down at the floor for balance, you can, or keep your eyes out kind of on the horizon. You're going to lift your heels all the way up, and it's like you're trying to pull your heels right up into your calf muscles, and then slowly lower down. This again is about tracking. So if your ankles are rolling out towards the sides, that's not very good for your running stance or that nice alignment. So try to keep your ankles really centered as you rise up and as you lower down. And let's keep going. So rising up, keeping those toes spreading and lowering down, and a couple more. Rise up and lower down, and one more. Heels lift, lift, lift. Nice and centered, and lower down. Roll back down to the ground. I'll just unfold my mat here real quick and come down to your seat. Almost done. So feet out in front of you. Flex your feet. So you're drawing your toes all the way back towards your shins, and then point your feet. So you're extending your toes down towards your mat. Now we're going to go fast. So you're going to go flex, point, flex, point, flex, point. Keep that going. This is a really great thing to warm up pre-run, warming up your ankles. Keep going. You might start to feel a little bit of a burn in those muscles in the fronts of your shins. That's okay. Keep going. Flex, point, flex, point, flex, point. And last 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good. And now we'll go for, I'll turn so you can see my feet a little bit better, supination and pronation. So take that outer edge of your feet and scoop it in towards each other, and then go in the opposite direction. So scoop the outside edges of your feet away. And then again, in, that's supination, and then pronation, away. One more time, supination and pronation. And now just some nice big circles, like you're drawing circles with your toes. Big, huge circles, other direction. Circle, circle, and circle. Good. All right, shake your legs out a little bit and give them a little pat down if you want. That is it. So happy running, happy whatever you're doing activity-wise. Thanks for tuning in.